Hello, everyone. I am Cheryl Bassitt, and I am part of the E3, which is the Expert Epic Entrepreneurs. So excited to be here. And admittedly, I will say that today's probably going to be my most favorite day to get to share. And that's because it's really going to really tap into the heartbeat of really why I'm even here to begin with, which is my passion around connecting families. And so we're going to talk about family connection, but it shares some rules or guidelines that are really good no matter what table you're sitting at. It doesn't really matter if you're at a kitchen table, a boardroom table, or any table in life. And it's really just a great way to have an honest conversation. And so joining me with this honest conversation is part of our Get Biz Lean program that we're doing for 30 days. It is one of the other epic entrepreneurs, and that is Yasmin. And I'm so excited to have her here because she has a young daughter, and we're going to really get into the heartbeat of what it means to sort of have that family communication. But just again, every bit of this applies back to really anywhere you're having a conversation with another individual and the respect that should go along with that. So welcome, Yasmin.
Thank you. I am so excited too, because as you mentioned, I have here a 4-year-old. Well, she'll be 4 on February 12th. And, you know, right now, family, I mean, when you're a mom, nothing is more important than family and making sure your kid just is set up for success and teaching them great communication and bonding and creating those memories. So I am so excited to learn from you about how you've done it with your family, because I know your kids are more grown. So I do enjoy learning from those who've gone before. So I am thrilled to be here and get to ask you lots of questions and find out how it applied in your life and how it can apply in mine and for those who are viewing our Google Hangout. So I'm excited.
Well, thank you. And it is definitely something that is like, you know, you have that burning question that you love when people ask you. Anything you ask me today will be my burning question, because it'll be really all from what this is about, right? So what I did was, you know, we got on here like really at the last second before this started, and you did not get your banner up, and I don't know if you know how to do that.
I don't.
Then go for it. If you don't, I think had you put up the ones that Dottie created for us?
I think so. Yep. Let's see. So do I click on my
the little toolbox that's on? That'd be like on your left.
Okay. I forgot about that. It's been a couple weeks that I've been.
I know. Well, it's funny because I just noticed the difference between your picture and mine, and that was why it's easy for me to see that. But so once you click on that, you know, the little smiley face. So here we're giving you guys, anyone who's watching, you're getting a Google Hangout lesson.
Yeah. Cool. And then I click on, right?
Yeah, well, that's your normal one if you want us to use that one. But there's one, I think, if you look down where it says custom or whatever down below, Dottie created one for you for the E.
Ah, okay.
If you see your name down there, you can click that one on instead.
I see. Okay. Hang on. This is cool. Yeah. You know, this is all great training for everybody else, whoever wants to do Google Hangouts. It's been an awesome experience for us. And okay, so for some reason the custom isn't working on mine.
Well, you have to click on the little check mark off to the side.
So you mean on the on, right?
Well, so where your name is, where it says E3 in your name, there's a little circle with a check in it right off to the right of that. And then if you don't see it, just go ahead and put up the one you had. At least we'll know who you are or what.
So we'll just do that. Let's do that. Okay. Yeah. And then I click save. Do you see it now?
I see it. You're good.
Okay. All right. Thank you for reminding me to do that. See, I love our village. We got each other's back. Okay.
Yes. So I'm gonna be trying to remember my role today, which is to flip back and forth between the screens as we're all talking. Because
right, it's like going like this, you know, like this, and then rubbing your belly at the same time.
Yes. So this is the beauty of team, right? Because we have 5 generations that come together to do this. And Dottie, who, I mean, it's sort of interesting. our true guru, if you will, our expert in social media hangouts and instant messaging and all that. If it's funny, right? Because she's in her 60s. She's the one that in some ways you would think would not be, that wouldn't be her role. But Dottie is amazing, has totally embraced it. And so I realize how much we rely on her when we have moments like this, that we're sort of like going, because I had to call her right before, like, oh my gosh, I don't know where I find this hangouts, which is we're on here a little bit. So
we're like, we're going live on the air. How do we do this?
Yeah, I know.
Without Dottie, because Dottie's usually managing. So we're flying solo, the two of us.
She does it all usually, so we're really dependent on that. But so Stephanie is also with us. She is in her 20s, and she really did a phenomenal week already on our relationship with money and making money, and really our abundant mentality around it. And then we have Jennifer, who's going to be doing next week with, not next week, the following week, the last week of the program, talking about how we make those tough decisions in our life and how we do it and stay in our integrity, and really just the solutions that we need to come up with. And she's got some great ways of really sharing that information. And then Yasmin, next week, you'll be touching about and working with a couple of us as we work through on all the wellness issues, which is going to be exciting. So, but this week, as part of my role, was to really touch into the relationships. And we spent some time yesterday, was great. We talked about how we sort of celebrate ourselves, how we celebrate others, and how we celebrate the world around us, and how those all interrelate in terms of how the way we see the world is the way that we see ourselves. So it was this really great dialogue, and Dottie and I went through that yesterday. And we also talked about 11 ways on the day before to have epic relationships. So today, all that really plays into this, and there will be some common threads that kind of weave in and out of it. But Yasmin and I are going to go back and forth a little bit on really maybe some more specifics on what it really means to have that transparent, authentic conversations, and also just the importance of that connection that's really needed. So Yasmin, I know that you have a daughter, and she's 4?
She'll be 4 on February 12th, and her name is Alyssa Sophia Wilson. And so she's my little love of my life, and I'm just delighted that, I have her. I'm grateful every day. And, not to say that there aren't those challenging times. So it's awesome to be able to have these meetings. So as she grows up and recognizes how important communication is, and that she feels safe, that she can bring things to, my husband and I and all of us, that free flow. I'm all about communication. So if there are new ways to communicate, especially around the family context, I love it, because that's totally in line where I am right now. So it's awesome.
Great. Well, if you don't mind, what I kind of wanted to do is to sort of talk, just quickly go through sort of how this evolved, and why I'm even doing kitchen table conversations, because I think that it's funny how sometimes the best things in life come from just our journey, and not even realizing that it's all leading up to something, right? And so it's just organically kind of grown. And so I wanted to share that, because I think then we can prompt into that, might have some questions from you, but then also I think that will help with, as we kind of walk through some things. And I know you were just looking right before we started at the agenda, the placemat agenda that I sent to you. So, and I actually get excited to share this, because my boys now are 23 and 26. And we had our first official family meeting, if you will. I think we had decent communication before then, though. I do want to say that, and maybe we had a different start point, probably not as good as some, but better than others in terms of where we started, right? So I do think everybody starts at a different place. But our first official family meeting was because I had a meltdown over my son asking for a tube of chapstick. And I know that makes me sound like a crazy person. And, in that moment, I did resemble that. And but the good news is that was not normal for me, that I had literally, and I'm sure a lot of people out there would be able to relate to this, but I had spent the whole morning while they were at school trying to figure out how to rob Peter to pay Paul so I could pay the bills and keep up with everything. And I had just sort of gotten this game plan together for the end of the month, right? How we were going to not have more month than money, which a lot of people deal with. And so I was sitting there adding it all up in my head when they come bounding in from school. And they're probably at this point, they're more like, oh, I don't know, maybe like 9 and I'm trying to think what their ages were, but younger. They're probably 7 and 10 or 9 and 11 or so forth. So they come bounding in from school, and it's like, Mom, I need football cleats, and I need this, and I need this shirt, and I need these socks. And I'm sitting there, all of a sudden, I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, I just got this figured out. I just figured this out, and now there's like $100 that they just spent in 15 seconds of conversation. And then Brian says, oh yeah, and by the way, can you take me to the store to get some chapstick? And it was the tube of chapstick that pushed me over the edge. And I had this like mad mama moment, if you will, that at least wasn't normal, because they both just stood there with their mouths hanging open, like, what just happened, Mom? So I guess that's the good news. But that was the first time I realized, man, we really just need to be on the same page. And not that I wanted to burden them with all of it, but just that there needed to be something in place for us to have conversations before the last minute of I need this and I need that, right? And just schedules and coordination. When you have kids, and I know you guys, when you get yours will be in school soon, you'll start to see it just starts to build over time, right? The amount of just things you have to remember and do, and it's up to them too to play a piece in that. And I think the more that we can have them be a part of it, it's important. So we sat down that night for our very first official family meeting, and I thought, honestly, that it was just going to be me imparting all my wisdom, straightening out my children, and imparting all my wisdom onto them. And what I quickly found out was not only did they have a lot to share, I had a lot to learn. So we went through this journey together because we really went through some really tough times, particularly around finances. There was a lot of stuff going on, but finances was certainly, at the core of it. And through that, because it was really, we ultimately ended up losing our house, but through the whole process, we found each other. And, we turned a time of crisis into really, I think, our greatest gift. And I think that I became a better parent. I think that we grew stronger as a family, and ultimately, we really became a team. And I think as we walk through some of the things today, Yasmin, that I'll get to share with you, you'll sort of understand what I mean by that. And the moments that happened after that I just went, man, I wouldn't have traded any of it, because I don't know that I would have been as in tune with them if we hadn't really gone through that. But I'm so thankful that instead of it allowing us to tear us apart, that we found a way to take it and bring us together. And I think families have that choice all the time, because, our world is, at times it presents its challenges, and it's how we face those challenges. But to go through it together and really work through it as a team, I don't know that there can be any greater feeling than to know that you kind of got through whatever it was together. So that's sort of the start point. I wanted you to know how this all started, and then I started teaching it in companies and saying, just, you need to sit down and have a family meeting. And I found out really quickly that there's so many people that don't know how to do that, right? I got this sort of deer in the headlights look. And so out of that came the placemat and the whole family meeting toolkit, which ultimately went on and got recognized as one of the next best brilliant ideas for humanity through an international competition, where I know Brendan Bouchard and some others were involved in it in terms of judging that. So it's really opened up a lot of opportunity for me, but it really wasn't something I set out to do. It's something that happened in a most beautiful way.
It's incredible, because what I see in hearing your story, what I see is that you've taken something that literally was like a breakdown and created a breakthrough. In the world of coaching, we call it literally a breakdown, right? But we're in the world of coaching on breakdowns and breakthroughs. And that probably did resemble a breakdown for a moment there, but we do call them breakdowns, so that to get through the other side of it and have that breakthrough and that aha moment, and really creating the, as they say, turning lemons into lemonade, and really being an example to your family and to your boys that, you're not going to let this stop you. In fact, you're going to grow better and stronger as a family and as a person coming out of these situations. And what an inspiration you must be to them, that now you're using this and they were a part of it, and you're out in the world teaching other people how to do it. It's really incredible. And, you know, families are the core to society. And if we really worked on ourselves and family, like put the oxygen mask over ourselves first, have we said many times, like putting the oxygen mask over our family first, there would be so much less conflict in the world because people would learn how to communicate and resolve problems. And I think it's just extraordinary. And I'm not at all surprised that, you know, you've gotten this humanitarian, oh, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, one more. Excuse me.
If I'd have been really nice, I would have taken the camera off of you, but I'm not.
That's okay. It's all real. It's all live and it's all real. I guess you can't cut that out. But anyway, so yeah, I just think it's incredible. And I'm not all surprised about, you know, the humanitarian impact that it's making and will be making, for sure.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, but it's funny because that whole experience of going through the next best brand idea for humanity, what that really did was it sort of brought it into focus for me even more. And I do realize that because, you know, the strength of our country and the world ultimately is really starts in our own homes with our own families, sitting around our own kitchen tables, because that's where the dialogue starts. That's our experience as we're, you know, really growing up to the family environment. So the breakdown in the family is really caused, as we know, just a lot of challenges for many families, and also for ultimately the communities and the society. So the ripple out is that way, but the same ripple out. So when I did the next best brain idea, the whole concept around it is that today, while technology will connect us across continents, tonight can you connect with your family? And the funny thing is that technology is absolutely amazing. And, you know, even though we don't know how to run a Google Hangout sometimes, you know, you and I you're in Colorado, I'm in Ohio right now, and we're having a conversation like we're sitting down and talking to each other at the table, right?
At the kitchen table. It is. I mean, technology is absolutely extraordinary.
It's amazing. But somehow in our own homes, with our own families, we're being compromised. And it's funny because sometimes that technology is what is actually causing that disconnect even in the home. So it's like anything you give energy to, you have to give it the right energy. So when I watch a family go out to dinner and they all sit there texting and, you know, whatever they're doing, and they're, you know, on their laptops or they're on their iPads or whatever they're doing, and they went out for a family dinner, but they're not talking to each other. And I do think that there is this moment where the person across from them has the technology in reality, but at the same time, you know, it's allowed us to just have this amazing way to communicate across continents. And so, you know, so I talk to George and Greece all the time, and it's just wonderful. But we have to make sure that we're strong in our own homes, because the ripples flow out, right? The ripples start in our home, and then we strengthen that. Then we can strengthen our schools, our communities, our companies, and ultimately our country and the world. That's how the ripples flow out. We have to become the change first that we want to see. It's really
be the change you want to see, right? So it's phenomenal. And people who are great communicators tend to be great leaders because they're bringing people together. That's what leaders do. And then also they get to pass it on then when they have children. So it can be even generational. So that ripple effect also exists too, as the example, you know, that they're doing it now, you know, when they, you know, choose to get married and have their own kids, they'll have that experience. So it's going to be like the gift that keeps on giving.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, absolutely. It's really, it is one of those things where I believe, and here's why I already know. This is one of my aha moments, right? When I realized what we did, we made a difference. I called David, he's in college now, so fast forward a lot of years, right? And it's Sunday night, and every Sunday night, and I should be clear about this, we didn't meet every night of the week. We tried to have dinners as much as we could, but the boys played football, and we had all kinds of activities and things going on, and I worked, you know, I was a sort of single mom at the time, and so it was challenging. And but David is at college now, and it was at this point, and he called me, and it was Sunday night at 7 o'clock, which is when we had our family meetings. And I called him and I said, Dave, what are you doing? And he goes, well, it's 5 to 7. What do you think I'm doing? I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, you know? And he says, well, it's 7 o'clock. My roommates and I are going to sit down and have our weekly meeting, our weekly family meeting for us. and of course they weren't using everything that we did, but they were still talking about like their favorite quotes, what their schedules were for the week. And, and so they got together to make sure they were all on the same page so that they had good communication lines going on.
That is so awesome. In college, I mean, your roommates, how many kids do you know are doing that, right? They're like more wanting to, go to the social parties or this or that, or the other, but they're really working on their little family unit as roommates. And I think
maybe they were planning their social parties, but the point was
that might have been on there, right? But they got their priorities straight. Let's plan for the party, and I would love to dig in when you feel we can parlay into it. I'd love to dig into some of the things that you do cover, like you mentioned, the favorite quotes. So things like that are just phenomenal to be able to bring to light that as I was going through, I would never have thought to have included it. And I didn't know what to expect before I read the agenda for your meeting or your placemat. And I just think it's phenomenal. So yeah, we'll go through each of it, but I didn't want to cut you off. I just want to let, just mention that how cool is that a college student is carrying on the tradition and the impact he's making. And he probably went back to his family, the roommates. So anyway.
We hope to have that ripple, right? So, yeah. So a couple things I would say about the quotes is that, first of all, the agenda evolved over time for us. It's not like we said it all at the first meeting. In fact, it started out sort of slow. And, there were times when I'd call the meeting and my boys, Brian especially, would, roll his eyes. He didn't always want to do. So let's be real here. It's not like they were like, oh, great. It's family meeting time. But I would just say, that's fine. Go ahead, get your eye rolling done. And when you're done, come to the table, because we're going to have, and it's really about, me stepping up and owning it. And I think parents understanding the importance of stepping up and owning it. And if they understood the value behind it, they wouldn't even hesitate. So I say that, but I will also say about the quotes is that, I think everybody thinks or assumes sometimes that I came up with this agenda. The quotes got added into our meeting because that was one of the things they wanted to add in, not me. And so it's sort of fascinating, but the very first quote that David brought to our meeting was, who am I not to be brilliant? And, wow. And he got that from the Coach Carter movie. And he said he even backed it up so he could write it down, or he made sure he got it so he could write it down what it was so he could bring it in. It comes from the speech that was written. It was actually written by Marianne Williamson, but Nelson Mandela did it in his speech about, when we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And so he had heard that, thought it was just amazing, and brought that, right? And then we had this wonderful discussion around it. So it's not just like you bring a quote and that's it. It would literally start dialogue, conversation about it. And the other one that we talked about a lot, and many times it still comes up in our conversations. And by the way, my boys still text me quotes. If they see something or they hear something they think that I will like or that they like or that's meaningful, they still share them to this day. And so
that's awesome.
This awareness, right? And in our lives. But the one that was also very powerful for us is that when you judge someone, you don't define them, you define yourself as someone who's judgmental.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful thing. And we've had so many great discussions about that in terms of, we don't need to judge everything. And sometimes when you hear the judgment going on, we've sort of had the ability to step back. So it starts to create almost like a family why statement around so many of these issues. So I just want to say that was one of the things but I did not offer up the quote. That was actually, and I'm trying to remember now which one, but I think it might have been Brian who said, let's add quotes into our family meeting. So a lot of the agenda came from them. The stuff you see about the expenses and the schedules, well, that came from me.
Right. No, but it's great because you start off with inspiration and they're living inspired lives. And I know, just like you had that experience when they brought that quote to you, I had something similar where my 3-year-old, almost 4, said to me, Mom, do you know that peace begins with me? And I about fell over. And I'm like, exactly. You know what I mean? I'm like, did I say that? where'd you get that from? I'm like, that's pretty amazing.
It's
So,
great.
right. And then we were talking about it. And so what's awesome about what you're doing is that would help foster and kind of create it as the context for communication, like you're doing with your sons, as sort of like a game or a way to connect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and as you said, it's a springboard into conversation. But mostly it's to have you think and be inspired. Like, okay, so what choices am I making? If that inspires me, so it's pretty amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is, and I'll share one of the other things that we did, and you saw on the agenda was the random acts of kindness, which again was something that David had wanted to put into our meeting, and I remember that one specifically. But what was so great, and sometimes I've had families say, well, we sit down and some weeks we just don't really have a random act of kindness, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. The point is that you're thinking about it. You're talking about it, you're discussing it, and sometimes you think of things that happened even outside of your own family that might have been like a random act of kindness. The point is that when you start to talk about it every single week and you put it in the front of your mind, over time they start to become more apparent, and you start to see those opportunities to do them. And so sometimes they'll say, well, should we change the agenda? And certainly for your family, if you want a different agenda, that's fine. These are sort of like the foundational things, and there's all kinds of things that you can add into it. But really the heartbeat of what happened here is that I thought when we started this, that it was just going to be just about that 20 minutes or that hour or whatever it was that we spent, that's what it was going to be about. And the truth is that it's way beyond that, right? It actually is something that we in and out of our lives every single day in terms of choices that we made and how we worked through them. And this awareness that it created, and it obviously it still does to this day. And on the random act of kindness one, I'll share this because it was another. I have so many of these, right? And this is it was just becoming a part of our life. After we'd had that on the agenda for a while, I'll never forget David running in one day from school saying, "Oh my God!" He says, "If we leave right now, we can go do a random act of kindness." And I went, "Okay, I'm in." So we left and went out, and he had overheard one of the football players saying that his mom couldn't pick him up. It was like 100 and some degrees. It was a really hot day. He had all of his football equipment, and he knew where he lived. So he knew that if we jumped in the car quick enough, we could go find him and give him a ride, probably the last mile of him walking home, because he heard the conversation that he was going to have to walk home. And so what was great was David couldn't wait to get to Sunday night so that he could be sharing that was his random act of kindness. And of course, I got to take credit for it too. So,
oh my God, that's incredible, because look at the kind of man this person is grown into, mm-hmm. and the husband and the excuse me, and the father he'll become. And now he's at the forefront of his mind. He's actually searching and seeking ways to demonstrate random acts of kindness. And I just think that's extraordinary. And especially in this day and age where there's a lot of, what's the word? Me. Well, in a lot of the generations they're calling, it's immediate gratification is one, but I can't think of the word right now, but it's more about, what is it called? Do you know what I'm talking about? They're describing a lot of this generation to be,
I know we were talking the other day about rhythms, which is what's in it for me all the time.
What's in it for me? Yeah, like me first, or entitled. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So a lot of companies are talking about these, a lot of the generation are in that mode of entitlement and don't want to work towards something. Imagine if they have this mindset of what kind of random acts of kindness, or shifted from what's in it for me. I mean, that's human nature, but how do I give? How do I serve? And then in any company and any job, any business or service, or even within family, to their spouse or to their children, thinking in that mindset of kindness and giving back, or paying forward, or being of service. That's a whole different concept than entitlement, like I just deserve it just because, and it's okay to have, it's a balance, right? We do want to expect, like through the law of attraction, that things happen effortlessly, but it's a different place to come from, right? I just totally see that is a powerful way to demonstrate in this next generation of kids that are coming up, right? You've got the baby boomers and then the baby boomers kids that's even outnumbered the baby boomers. So imagine this goes so prolific, because it is, I think, one of the largest populations that we've ever known, from what I understand, at least in our country. So imagine that, talk about ripple effect. Imagine the ripple effect that one person has. Remember that movie, Pay It Forward?
Yes.
That one kid did that one random act of kindness, and then the ripple effect it has. I got my chills going on, my chill check. So, so imagine more and more people, right, using the placemat, thinking of random acts of kindness, and the ripple effect that would be. And I'm thinking of a story I read to my daughter called Extraordinary Mary, where she does this kind thing with blueberries, and then that passes on, and then that passes on. And by the time you get to the end of the book, it shows you how many thousands of people were impacted by that one act of kindness.
That's great. Yeah.
By paying it forward, and I'm just seeing this as a structure. And I keep bringing this up. I keep seeing this as a structure because that is part of it. And you're really hitting all the bases. In fact, I'm looking at some of this, and I'm seeing that some of this could even drill down into our week next week around wellness, right? Because you have some wellness topics. So you're kind of covering all the areas in this placemat.
Yeah, we are. And I'll tell you one thing, I know next week you and I are going to get to share a little bit on the wellness piece, right? But and really, I think what hits home is, you see on the far right of that you're looking, this is the bigger.
Oh, there you go.
Right, yeah. So
much better than the small 8.5 by 11.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about it for a minute, but yeah, go ahead. What were you going to show us?
Well, no. So over here on this, I don't know if I'm pointing to the right side. Is that? Yeah. Yes. So the 30-day commitment, we would do like make a habit, break a habit. A lot of times, if you think about that, and a lot of times we're around health. So Brian, my habit that I'm going to make is to drink more water, and my habit that I'm going to break is to maybe drink, not as much of my Gatorades and things like that. And he was in sports, but it got to the point where, that should be to replenish you after you've sweated out a lot and really had a workout. But there's sometimes that especially our kids get in the habits of drinking, them more than they do water, and that's not really good. So it's okay to replenish with it, but it's not meant to be the drink of choice all day long. And so he decided he was going to do that. So that for him was to make a habit and break a habit. And then we would ask, well, how can we support you around that? Because you need to find out how much input people want around certain things. So we started setting these, but the thing right below it is, if you see it on there, it says, yes, I need the silly rule. Do you see that right below the make a habit, break a habit?
Oh, I love that. Is great.
Okay, so here's the silly rule, and it is fun, but for that, maybe not such a big deal, as far as needing it. But so let me give you another example. I decided I was going to make this habit of running. My husband loves to run, go out and run, and I have always hated it. Just don't like it. It's just not my thing. And everybody talk about getting a runner's high, and I'm like, I just want to die. I don't feel high, It's like not my thing. So
I resemble that comment. I can resemble that comment. Yeah, for sure.
So I thought, well, maybe, that, I just need to really break through. I need a breakthrough, right, in running. So for 30 days, I was going to make this commitment to really push myself to get into running. And, but what the silly rule does is it gives you permission on something like that to say at the end of 30 days, you check it and you say, at the end of 30 days, though, I want the ability to say, this is the silliest thing I've ever done, and I quit. And so it with everything, but it gives you that permission. So you're not trying to say, for the rest of my life, I'm going to go do this. But for 30 days, you can make a commitment towards something, really give it 110%, but also know that you, at the end, everybody's agreed that you might be using your silly rule.
And not make you wrong or judge or judge yourself or be embarrassed or anything. And that is so cool because, our subconscious mind is so powerful. And if we think we can't do it, we won't. So, but if we think we could do it for 30 days, our subconscious mind go, oh, and conscious mind go, I can do it for 30 days. Right. And so versus, oh my God, I got to do this, for the rest of my life. And then it seems really daunting and people fail before they even begin.
Yeah. So that
gives you permission. I like it.
now, and I tell you, I think I gave it 200% during that time frame. I was just really determined, right? And at the end of 30 days, I can honestly say I despised it more than when I started. I applied the silly rule, and I thought there are so many things that I enjoy doing.
Like, I think you're going to say you're a marathon runner now, and that's like your favorite thing in the world.
I don't mind running stadiums. I can do aerobic. I like spinning classes. There's all kinds of things that I like to do. That is not one of them. And so
that's awesome. Well, I love your authenticity. It's so great. And your stories are so phenomenal. And I thought maybe, I'd like to go through some of these because I'm sure people are chomping at the bit to see what we're seeing. Like, yeah, for example, my favorites, like you already talked about the quote, but go ahead.
Well, you was going to say as well, we're talking about a little bit, because actually on the back side of it, there's some rules, and we definitely want to cover those because those are what keep the meeting, any meeting, positive, fun, engaging. I shouldn't say always fun, but definitely engaging and on the right track. So let me switch over to my screen, because then I can pull the placemat up and everybody can see it while we're kind of.
That would be fantastic. Okay, because I know I'm even chopping at the bit to ask some questions about some of these items. And I have to say, I think it's creative. I like the flow. It is, it covers, all the bases. As a trained life coach, being a background, people have those 5 areas in life that they're most committed to, right? Financial, relationships, health and well-being, career, right? And spirituality and all those things. So this really encompasses, in a lot of ways, all of those areas in one, like at a glance. I love it.
So can you see my screen? Does it show the?
Yeah, I do. I see it.
Okay. Yeah. So this really, it does. It covers a lot. And of course, I think the leaders or readers down at the bottom was something we added on a little bit later. But even like my faces of the week, it's funny because it's sort of evolved too, Yasmin, and I think you'll appreciate this. On the my faces of the week, right? Originally, we had those as a grading system. Because I was sort of, and I never really liked it. Like, I didn't really like the fact that we were giving ourselves grades in those areas, right? So what we decided to do was to put these faces of how we felt about those issues. And I think for kids especially, and I will tell you, we already had one situation where a girl who was probably 11 or 12 years old was really putting all these sad faces around food, like all the food stuff. Like, she didn't want, and she wasn't, just wasn't eating, and she wasn't, you know what I mean? And they found out that she was sort of developing, which happens a lot with these younger girls, an eating disorder. And they were sort of able to identify that because of her, just how she sort of felt bad about all of it, And so I think, but it's also a reminder that if we do feel bad in an area about something, what do we need to do then that might be part of what you need to do for your 30-day commitment to make a change. So.
Love it. Love it. So do you go like from top to bottom, left to right, usually?
We did, although, all of us at times probably had a little bit of our ADD going, but, where do you follow the bouncing ball? But, but I think that's okay. We tried to cover most of it each meeting. The important thing was we were connecting. We did go through, we did always touch on, there were certain ones that we always did. And that was definitely our favorite quote because we always loved them. We all had our daily affirmations. We definitely did our 30-day commitments, and we would talk about where we were in that commitment and how we were feeling about it. So we always, obviously, especially when the boys were younger, talked about the upcoming expenses and, what it meant to be out in the community and volunteering. We did a lot of that. And I think that brought that front of mind awareness around it, that you don't, I think a lot of people would go volunteer, but they just don't take the steps to go make it happen.
Yeah, I agree. We think about it during the holidays, and that's probably the extent of most of that. Now, question, when it says my favorite quote, or daily affirmation, and what I was inspired by, does each family member fill this out for themselves and bring it to the meeting?
Correct.
Or yes, is that what? Yeah. Okay.
Everybody has their own, and so
and it's a blank slate each week.
It's a blank slate each week. And, you know, originally we did these in a fun way after obviously this isn't what we did. This was the agenda, and I put it in this format, and I did it in a way that younger kids could participate. So there's a couple ways I did it originally. And one of them was this, which you see, which is a dry erase material. So you literally had markers, and it could be almost fun to, you know, engage in with it that way.
Do people buy that?
Yeah, so I have kits, right? That's really when I did the Next Best Brilliant Idea for Humanity. I had created these kits, and the kits included, you know, 4 placemats, the markers, and
this is brilliant, I must say.
A book went with it, and then there was a tracking journal, so you could track from week to week, so that once you erase something, if it was on the dry erase, you would lose it. So there was a tracking journal that you could transfer the things that were most important and into it and so forth. So it really was a way to sit down. You know, it's funny because it always reminds me of, and I know you'll appreciate this, but you know, in our companies, right, we will have meetings all the time to have a successful company, and in sports teams or the band or whatever. How many times do they get together to make sure they can go out and, you know, put together a strong team, and or be able to, you know, have the cohesiveness that you need to be able to have a band work in harmony, all those things. And we do that for so many things in our lives, but we don't take the time once a week to sit down with our own families and to have that. So, you know, the question is, are you willing to meet once a week with your family to make that team strong? Just like you do so many other things in our lives, right?
Absolutely. Now, as I'm reading through this, so my favorites, we got the favorite quote, the daily affirmation, which we know affirmations help train the mind to be thinking in the present tense of whatever it is you want to bring into your life. Right. So affirmations are doing that. And then I was inspired by, again, keeping the mind working on, okay, this is what's important to me, and this is what I'm inspired by. Then it has talking points. So I have a question. It says high, low. Now I get what's underneath it. I am thankful for and random acts of kindness, which we covered. But what is high, low? What does that mean?
Well, it was really, I think families do this already, so I wanted to include it. But it was really, what was our high point? What was our low point? Maybe for that day, for that week. So it was really that discussion. And, you know, sometimes we did do it. What we weren't allowed to do with that, one of the rules around that is that you couldn't say that, you couldn't just constantly come and say the same high or the same low. If you're good, we tried to put some creativity behind it. And so that's really what that was about, was just what was our high or what was our low, whether it was for the day or for the week or whatever we wanted to share.
Yeah. And then I like making the plans. I mean, there's birthdays, special occasions, holidays, vacations, outings, and special projects. So it gets everybody sort of thinking in that same direction for scheduling, right? Because a lot of what we know that successful people do is they schedule things. And you need to incorporate these plans because they can easily throw us off from our daily routine. So if you already are anticipating, okay, we got a birthday, or we got Christmas, or we've got 4th of July, or we're going on this vacation, we got to, you know, prepare for it, or, you know, special projects, like I'm looking at purchasing a home. So that's like a special project, you know, those kinds of things. And you're going to need to rally everybody behind it. So that, I mean, each of these points is amazing. And then, of course, what a great gift to teach your kids about money and how to save. So, and I love the little piggy bank. So great savings ideas. So it gets them in the mindset to be responsible with money. In fact, you know, if my daughter is doing a chore, like she gets to feed the dogs, now she gets a penny and she is so thrilled. She's so thrilled. And I'm like, okay, go put it in your piggy bank. And we're going to save it for college, right? So I'm already trying to, you know, get her, or committed to getting her in that mindset of, you know, you do something and you can earn your money, and then you want to save it and be, you know, mindful of how you're spending it. You can buy toys and buy food and clothes and all these great things. So the great savings idea is awesome. And then upcoming expenses. How often do we have more month at the end of our paycheck? So as you said, right?
Right.
So that's really great to get them in the mindset, like Robert Kiyosaki talks about, and really learning to be more financially literate. And this is awesome. I'm just going through it. So be a go-giver. How fantastic is that? It's like kind of like a checkbox. Like, okay, did you do that this week? And so it keeps at the top of mind, like you said. And then what is that? It says leaders. Does it say leaders as leaders? Because the pen is in front of it. What is that?
Yeah, it's leaders are readers.
Oh, leaders are readers. Okay.
Yeah, and readers are leaders, right? Depends on how you want to look at it. You can flip those two for sure, right? So
I love that. I have a huge library. I love to read. Sadly, I don't have as much time anymore, so I do Audible often. But, you know, really looking at that, like you and I were exchanging ideas on books, remember? Just as of recent. Like, what are you reading? What are you reading?
Yeah, well, and here's the funny thing is that one of the things we've been talking about the last few days, and I'll have to put this into the mix of, is a really good example, is there's this, we've been talking about dot, the dot be a dot, and the dot is drops of thought. And, you know, I kept doing the drops of thought onto my kids about reading, right? And the reality is that sometimes people need a lot of drops to get a thought across to them, and sometimes they don't need as many. But for them, I felt like, oh, I just know how powerful it can be when you pick up a book and read, right? Or, and it's different than even sometimes just sitting online and reading. It's just really engaging into a good book. And I just really kept thinking, man, I wish they would. And I felt like it was sort of like I kept mentioning it and suggesting it, and it just felt like it went nowhere, right? So one day, though, they both went to this leadership conference, and the person on stage said, you know, if you really want to be a leader, you have to be a reader. And we had been looking at this on our agenda, like for a couple of years of me bringing this up. And all of a sudden, so David comes home and he says, Mom, you think you were right. You know,
sometimes you know, kids have to hear it from a third party, right, to give it any credence.
But it might have gone right over their heads if we hadn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, what you do is still so powerful in terms of, you know, Dr. Oz probably gets a lot of credit for changing people's lives, but there was probably a lot of people that made the same suggestions that build up to that moment that they heard Dr. Oz.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you hear it again and again, too, it creates affirmation and justification and social proof. And, you know, like when you see something advertised, it takes like 6 times, I think, before people take action to buy. Same thing, to buy into an idea. So, you know, it really ties right into that. And then, of course, we talked about earlier the 30-day commitment, making a habit, breaking habit. Those are both very important. And the silly rule, I think that's phenomenal. That's great. Really gives you a lot of freedom to make commitments. And
freedom. You can't do it with everything. One time David said, well, I'm going to brush my teeth morning, noon, or morning and night. And then in 30 days, I want the silly rule. I'm like, no.
There's something you just,
no.
You can't break that habit unless you want your teeth to fall out.
Yeah, nice.
That's telling my daughter, you don't want your teeth to fall out.
But we tried to, we did the vegetarian for 30 days. And you know what? We tried so many foods we would have never tried. But at the end of 30 days, we kind of said, you know, I kind of miss my chicken and my fish a little bit. And
where's my meat?
You know, I mean, and we still do to this day. There's things that we tried in that moment that we still have now because we had that, we pushed ourselves into a different experience. And
and it's variety, and you get to explore and try new things. And, you know, really it gives the structure for that. And, you know, as a coach, SMART goals have been around for a long time. And we use them as a coaching tool so profoundly because it's effective, it is easy to remember, and it's so specific. And I love that you incorporated that. So SMART, for if anyone has never heard of it before, a SMART goal is a way to structure a goal that has all these 5 elements. So one is S for specific, M for measurable, A is for action-based, R is for realistic, and T is for time-based. So maybe take a moment and expound on how people can structure a SMART goal using those 5 elements.
So here's a great example. Brian had decided he wanted an A. And again, I'm relating this back to the family, but you know, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's so important to, like you said, as a coach, to walk through that process. So he says, I want to get, you know, an A in this class. And that was his goal. And I said, okay, let's start breaking it down. What specific steps, you know, how are you going to measure how you're doing throughout the course of it? What are some of the actions that you're going to have to commit to make that happen? You know, and let's be realistic about it, because you can't say, well, I'm just going to study 30 hours more a week. That's not, you know, you have football and other responsibilities. And then you know, is it by the next grading period, or is it the one after? And you said, So it was all
the buy when. You gotta have the buy when to give it, some credence.
Right. So, but what it did was when he realized at one point he was at a B in the class, he said, I need to look at this and see how am I going to get that now to an A? What do I need to do specifically? What's needed? And so he upped it and he got his A, in that class. And I can guarantee you, if he just said, I want an A, it probably wouldn't have happened. He would have probably had the B. Not that that's bad, because I think sometimes we get hung up on grades, but that was important to him in that moment, and he set the action plan around it. So
yeah.
And I want to share a couple other things that's backing up just a little. First of all, we did pick a leader, because I was not the person always running these meetings. So you see at the top.
Oh, we missed that part. So yeah, say more about that. I mean, you choose a different leader, facilitator of the meeting each week.
Yeah, so they would get to start it and end it basically, and kind of drive, just kind of be the person that kind of streamlined through the meeting and felt like, because I think that was important for them to have ownership in it. And the other thing was the great savings ideas. I mean, we laugh about this, but one of the things that we decided is that Brian, have you ever bought those books that you get all the coupons in it for deals of restaurants for $10 off or buy one get one, the coupon big books, the entertainment books?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we got one of those, and I was kidding. I said we did the craziest thing you can imagine with it. We actually used it before it expired.
Yeah. Isn't that so true? You buy it and then you're like, oh no, it's expired.
Yeah,
totally.
So the funny thing was that Brian, he said I'll take care of that. So he would bring it to our meetings, and we a lot of times would go through it and say, let's go do this, or let's think about going to do this or whatever. So we planned with some of those things in mind. So that was part of our savings. David decided that he could make pizzas. He became really great at making pizzas, and he felt like it saved us some money. And I'm sure it did. And he got so good at it first, in fact, over time, that one night we were going to have pizza. And fast forward, and I'm now married, and my husband's like, yeah. I said, I'm going to make the pizza, and he goes, that's okay. Let.
I love it. That's awesome.
That's how they participated, and I guess before we flip to the back, because I think there's so much on the back of this that it doesn't look like a lot, but it's so meaningful about how this all flows in a positive way. But again, my aha in knowing, and it's funny because. I kid about this, but Brian, when he's a senior in high school, first of all, Brian got voted best dressed his senior year of high school, which I think is such a cool story, because most of his clothes came from a secondhand store. And
wow. What woman doesn't like a best dressed man, a nicely dressed
and he sort of the fashion. And now to this day, he's like, man, I hate to go to any store that's full price. It just drives me crazy.
Oh, I know.
Because there's so much good stuff you can find, right? And I think a lot of people have tapped into that now. But the point is that nobody knew that. And we went to, at that point, we kind of lived in an area where that was sort of a big deal, not that Brian, it wasn't, but he just liked to dress nice. But anyway, but nobody had a clue that probably most of his wardrobe came from,
Can we say TJ Maxx?
Well, I was like
Marshalls, right?
Plato's Closet, and, just some of the stores that are secondhand. Sell it again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I bought all my daughter's clothes down because they grow so quickly. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's true.
But it was Brian's senior year, and they were having their big casino night. And the neighbor asked me about it. He says, "Is Brian going to the big casino night?" And I said, "Geez, I don't know. I don't think he's even mentioned it, right?" So, but at our meetings, we talked about upcoming expenses. So I went to Brian and I said, "Are you going to go to your big casino night for your senior year?" And he said, I do want to go. He goes, "But I realized I forgot to bring it up at our family meeting." And he said, and I thought to myself, I should have. And he said, and then I thought, would I want to take my own $40 that I've saved and pay for it? He said, and I ultimately decided I probably wouldn't. He said, so I just really didn't think that it was fair for me to ask you to spend your money if I was unwilling to spend my own.
OMG. Are you kidding me?
Now, I have to be honest with you, as a mom, huge waves of guilt rode over me, right?
No, I mean OMG, guilt. No, I'm thinking the opposite, how responsible and considerate.
Yeah, no, but in that moment, you're right. What I realized is that we were on the same team. How
No,
many
totally.
fight with their kids about money? And here was Brian understanding, you know, and wanting to be a part of the solution. And I hugged him and I said, you know, you're going to go to your senior year. So I want everybody to know he did go. I'm just like,
I know. I mean, I was waiting for a Disney ending there. So, you know, that is incredible. And I'm just looking at the time and I'm wondering, were you planning on going through maybe the rest tomorrow, or what is your plan for tomorrow?
We might do that because we are at time, but it's so fun to talk about this and the rules.
Oh, I know. Oh gosh. Yeah, we could do it. So I invite you to look at really going into this in depth tomorrow so we don't rush it.
Well,
and, you know,
tomorrow, really am excited to share these with you. Is tomorrow still good for you to?
I have, you know, I have back to back coaching calls tomorrow, but I can be on the blab. I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, whether I'm there or not, I mean, I'd really love to be there because I personally firsthand would love to know myself and, you know, interact. This is so much fun. This is like me in a sandbox with you playing, you know, and just having a ball learning about this stuff. So let me just quickly check my calendar, but regardless, I would still have you go through this, but I will see if I could get on with you. Okay.
Yeah. So tomorrow is Friday.
Yes.
And if it doesn't and you can't, I can definitely, I mean, trust me, I've got, this is what I teach, right? This is the heartbeat actually of what I get to teach. And it really is what is good for, I don't care what table you're sitting around, it does not matter. These rules are so profound, regardless of where you are. So, you know, I love though that we took a little more time on the front because I think it brings it alive in a way. But tomorrow's fine if we want to do these rules, and if that works for you. If it doesn't, I can definitely do them.
Yeah, and just go through it. But yeah, if I can be on live with you, I will. And I will say, right off the bat, dream board is in big words. Again, as a coach, I have people create dream boards, pull out, you know, pictures from magazines and create a dream board so that, you know, you train your conscious and your subconscious mind. Like, these are things that I want to attract in my life. And so I love that you have that. And then also these rules, that is a little tiny to see. So you're definitely going to have to go through all of those tomorrow. But this is so in alignment with what coaches coach and teach and empower their clients. And really, we're all coaches. All us as epic entrepreneurs are at heart coaches, and we love to teach, and we like to impart wisdom and share and mentor and empower people. So this is absolutely so empowering and so enlightening and just brilliant. I want to thank you so much for coming up with this. I could see why this has such a humanitarian impact, and the awards and the accolades it's getting. This is phenomenal, truly. From the bottom of my heart, it's phenomenal.
I'm going to stop sharing the screen so we can see ourselves. There we go.
All right, there you go. So thank you so much, and great job.
Yes.
Excellent.
So, well, thank you. And thank you for being on here. And I'm sort of laughing because I realize how fast time flies when you are like,
having fun.
It just the last couple of days. I loved it. And, you know, we went an hour on those, but you know, I'm like, wow, I can't believe that. Well, like really, there's like a time thing that folded over in the middle of that. And I think that was only like 15 minutes in my head. So anyway.
Right. Well, time flies when you're having fun, and it's just such a pleasure the way, you know, we all get to work with each other and share our vision and what create and our talents and skills, and that all the people who are listening or watching get to benefit from it too. So it's exciting. Thank you again.
Yeah, so you guys, just so you know, this is our E3, and we've got a couple more weeks after this week that we're doing, and it is, we call it our 30-day, right, Get Biz Lean, but the truth is it's going to be about 35 days. Is that right?
Yeah, we get the bonus week. Yeah,
we got the bonus week. I love it. And next week we got some great stuff coming around the physical well-being. So, you know, we'll wrap this up tomorrow on the relationship piece. And what you'll find is that every week there's so much, it just all flows together, right? It's all interconnected and interdependent, and all those things that you know about how we live our lives in authenticity and in a really wonderful way, positive and relationships, and with everything that we have around us in terms of not just people, but everything, right? Money, how we relate to that, how we relate to our physical well-being. So that's what we're really covering, and all that impacts your businesses Tomorrow we'll tap into more of the rules, and the rules are going to be powerful. I mean, they really are game-changing rules. I'm really excited to share those. And Yasmin, thank you so much for being on.
Oh, it's just my delight and my pleasure. And you brought up something, and before we hang up or close the show or close our this time together, that's a great point. Like bringing this up and how people can use it as a tool for their team in their business as well, and how it will affect not only their family life but their overall business life balance and bringing it together, because this is a biz lean. But what we're talking about isn't just about business, because we know as entrepreneurs, we bring ourselves everywhere we go. So our mindset, how we operate, our routines, how we think, and these things are totally templatable into our business life as our family life as entrepreneurs. So I just wanted to leave it on that note as the cliffhanger for tomorrow's episode.
Because really a lot of what I'm sharing tomorrow, which is interesting, is stuff that I learned in business that I took home and shared with my family. And now I'm sharing.
Exactly. And they go both ways, don't they?
It goes both ways. So.
It goes both ways. Okay, my dear. Mwah. Big hugs. Great job. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll let you know for sure, but I want to see if I can make that happen.
It'd be wonderful, man. Appreciate you. Thanks.
I appreciate you. Bye.